In this video, I played 100 video games and reviewed the top 50 for you guys to watch. I will not be reviewing any horror games, shooter-specific games. For example, I would play a Metroid game or something, like Enter the Gungeon, but not anything like Call of Duty. I will also not be playing any PlayStation, Switch, or VR exclusive games that I can't get. I am playing on an Xbox, and there may be some Xbox exclusive games on this list, but I will try and keep it limited. And lastly, most of the games that I will be reviewing are or were in the making of this video available on Xbox Game Pass. As a quick disclaimer before we begin, these reviews will be short and concise. Due to time limitations, I can only play a small amount of each game. As a plus side to this, there will be no major spoilers of the games featured in this video, and you can go into any games that interest you almost completely blind. Finally, this video is meant to help you find a game that could interest you, and whether it's worth your time or not. I ranked these games in order of worst to best, and I won't be able to review the full games, so I might leave out some details that are in the further game. So if there are any reviews you disagree with, that is very likely the cause. And that's everything. So sit back, relax, and buckle up. This video is a long one, so let's dive in. First up on this list, we have Beacon Pines, a game solely relying on its story, characters, and dialogue-based choose-your-own-adventure type gameplay mechanics, rather than any kind of hack-and-slash combat. This game has a feature called Turning Points. When you use different charms in these scenarios, the story will be completely altered, changing the entire game from there on out, and you can return to the Chronicle to change any choices you've already made. Next, we have Little Witch in the Woods, a game where you play as a young, aspiring witch and her hat, Virgil. Put together, they make all the dialogue options surprisingly charming. Better yet, I was actually interested in talking to all the characters. Fantastic writing even made Ellie and Virgil bantering interesting and engaging. The art design definitely helps too. Next up, we have Nuclear Throne. And art design isn't exactly its strong suit, but the fun, snappy gameplay mechanics definitely make up for it. This game had my ADHD mind at ease with its fast-paced, fun, immersive combat that kept me coming back for more runs. There's a bunch of different characters you can play as with different strengths and weaknesses. My favorite is the Mummy, who's kind of a glass cannon, but even the basic lizard had me engaged. I wasn't ready for Pikuniku. This is a game filled with so much passion and charm, but unfortunately the gameplay is a little lacking. However, that is more than made up for by the hilarious dialogue and interactions with NPCs. The music is also fun and poppy, and if you're just looking for a short, fun experience, I would recommend Pikuniku, because I don't know where else you're gonna find a game with this much charm and passion. Genesis Noir almost felt more like an art project than a video game, and I don't mean that in a bad way. The gameplay and puzzles were fun, but I think definitely the main selling point is the music and art that really goes into this game. Not to mention the amazing aesthetic and beautiful color palette. If you're into art, especially abstract art, I would really recommend this game. But if you're looking for a little more action, I don't think this game is for you. Costume Quest is a cute little game where you play as a kid just wanting to trick or treat. Eventually, though, you're gonna have to craft and use your costumes in pretty epic battles. That's not even to mention the funny dialogue between characters, NPCs, and even enemies. For an older game, this one definitely stands out. I mean, turning into a giant mech to defeat a troll? Definitely not something I expected from this game. In Tinykin, I was incredibly surprised by how smooth and snappy the movement was. It just felt really good to walk around and throw my little guys at things. This game was also extremely charming, and very fun at the end of it. I really expected the Tinykin to be my favorite part of, well, Tinykin, but I thought the movement just felt so good that it alone could be the premise. Northfire's absolute banger sound design immediately drew me in. This game had me running in fear across my room as a virtual spider attempted to run away from me on the floor. Have you heard these things in this game? The sound effects are terrifying. And that makes it all the better when you get to torch it with a flamethrower. Remember, kids, there's nothing more satisfying than burning down your house. Okay, I have to talk about Dicey Dungeons. This game is a roguelike where you play as a dice, and you unlock a bunch of different abilities that you can use on your dice to deal damage, add status effects, etc. The music in this game is also fantastic, and the characters are all charming. Luck-based combat may not sound very fun, but once you get into it, it actually becomes pretty fun and intuitive. However, you can't just go for the whole game hoping for nat 20s. You will die. Next up, we have Blade Room, a game where you're trying to speedrun and refine your time in these packed rooms filled with saw blades. The action didn't get repetitive or boring, and I actually found it very entertaining. Compared to my expectations, this game was very fun. I kept just wanting to go back and get better times in all the rooms I've already been in. This game made backtracking fun. That's hard for a non-Metroidvania. Next on the list, we have Bridge Constructor Portal, which is the answer to the question, what if you mixed Aperture Laboratories from the successful Portal games with Polybridge? And this is the result. A funny one at that. This game retains the charm of the original Portal games while also adding fun puzzle elements. If you liked the original Polybridge games, or at the very least, the Portal-style comedy, then I think you're gonna like this game. I'm excited for this one. This is Fable Anniversary. In this game, you get to choose whether you want to be good or evil. The gameplay mechanics seem awesome. And even the tutorial was overall a blast for me to play. One of my favorite missions was one where I just had to stand by some boxes, and some kid was telling me to break them. I think this game has some serious potential, and being made on the old Xbox, this game looks fantastic. Inkulinati, yes, I'm saying that right, is an interesting game. Definitely not something I've seen before. In this game, you can place units, kill units, attack with your units. There's tons of stuff to do, and a lot to understand. This isn't a bad thing though, as I actually found myself having a lot of fun. If the gameplay on screen looks interesting, then I would recommend trying out Inkulinati. Once you get a hang of the controls, it can be really fun, as long as you can get past all of the dogs dying. Next up, we have Lapin, a beautiful story platforming. The plot of Lapin is very similar to Watership Down, and I'm specifically talking about the book. This game had snappy platforming that felt really good to do. Unfortunately, the characters' dialogue felt a bit uninteresting, but hey, maybe that's just me. If you're looking for a big platforming challenge, I could definitely recommend this game, and the beautiful art is self-explanatory. Next up, we have Contrast. With an awesome premise and great execution, I mean, what's not to love? The main gimmick of this game is that you play as the child's imaginary friend. You can leap into shadows, you can break stuff, and you can unlock abilities. The music was also amazing, with all the jazz and whatnot. But I think my highest praise to this game has to go to the storytelling. I actually got really invested. Moonlighter's up next. This game mixes an action RPG dungeon crawler with a cozy shopkeeping game. And the developers actually did this really well. I got interested in both sides, whether it was making sure my sales don't go too low, or beating up monsters in the dungeon. I had a blast with Moonlighter. I do have to say though, the art style wasn't really working for me. In general, I don't think dungeon crawlers do well with pixel art. Monster Sanctuary feels a lot like Pokemon if it was allowed to do whatever it wanted. I feel like Pokemon nowadays really can't stray from the basic formula, otherwise they might risk losing millions of dollars. And even though I came in thinking that this was just a cheap Pokemon knockoff, I think this game had a lot more passion, and a lot more creativity. I mean, look at this little slime dude. They gave him an Uru face. Pokemon can't do that. And this Big Toad, he's my best friend. Despot's game was filled with so much charm and passion that I did not expect from this kind of game. But the wide variety of characters and team building that's available to you made this game super fun for a roguelike auto-battler. I also thought the mini guys and graphics were just really cute and charming. It looked really good, in my opinion, for what it was trying to do. And for an auto-battler, there were some complex mechanics in it. And it's fun. Eastward started off with a great and mysterious story, and then, further into the gameplay, it felt so satisfying to smash up these little slimes. I think that the gameplay was very fun. So was the story. It was very intriguing. It had me just wanting to keep talking to characters and diving into the game. Eastward did a great job keeping me interested through the combat, the story, and the beautiful pixel art. Return to Monkey Island was a point-and-click adventure kind of game, where you play as two young kids trying to find their way around an amusement park themed around pirates. I thought the jokes were funny, and lots of the interactions felt really cartoony and realistic at the same time. The game, however, didn't have much action, which is what you would expect from a point-and-click adventure game, but it still knocks the game down a few points in score. Rainbow Billy definitely isn't an adult's game, but it was a bucket of fun. All the character interactions were funny, or at least charming, and the atmosphere of this game is just so good. The core mechanics were just the regular 3D platformer kind of thing, but the charm definitely makes up for it in this game. I mean, each and every one of the individual trash cans had unique and hilarious dialogue. Moonscars was a dark, brooding game, but it had so much fun packed into it, with its insane skill tree, epic gameplay mechanics, which you get right off the bat, and beautiful, almost Elden Ring-like storytelling. These things all mix to make an amazing Metroidvania. From the first 15 minutes, you get so much. Oh my goodness, look at this combat, it's beautiful, and a bit gory. Jurassic World Evolution 2 is a game that needs time. I thought the graphics were beautiful, but I couldn't really do much at the beginning of the game. The idea of being in a world immersed with dinosaurs, though, is obviously a great idea. I mean, the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies just prove that. I think if you love the movies enough like me, you'll enjoy this game. But right now, I can't really tell you exactly what it's like. Escape Academy is a game that fully immerses you into an escape room, even if you can't afford to go to one in real life. I found the puzzles in this game very entertaining, but the intro puzzles were a bit easy. And I mean, that makes sense. It's the tutorial level. I really love how they immerse you in the rooms that you're in, whether it be a rundown escape room or a dungeon inside of a rundown escape room. I think this game could have largely benefited from voice acting, but it looks really good right now. Crackdown 3 Campaign had me extremely hyped with the intro, but honestly, the gameplay mechanics just didn't feel as good as advertised. I mean, from the trailer, you're like swinging around, throwing things, shooting things. In the actual game, it doesn't feel nearly as good. I think for what it is though, it's good, but it could be so much better. The art design and voice acting are hard to be overlooked though. They were great. Chorus takes classic flight simulator games and adds super cool sci-fi elements to it. The story was really good and compelling. I liked the characters, even though I didn't think I was going to at the beginning, and piloting this ship around a bigger, giant ship was so fun. And we cannot skip past the art design. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful. And the voice acting was great. Blink the Time Sweeper is definitely a bit of a classic, but it still stands up to modern day games. The time control mechanics are awesome. They give my childhood imaginary superpower a little bit of merit. The main character's design also looks fantastic and memorable. I already touched a bit on the time control mechanics, but holy heck, how has no one done this before? This is awesome. I mean, all of the mechanics just feel great to use. Monster Train was an unexpected hit in the roguelike genre. It was actually a blast to send all my monsters out onto the train, beating up baddies with my epic card combos. And okay, I'm a bit biased to roguelikes, because I love them to death. But this is a good one. The gameplay mechanics just felt really great, and it was fun. A lot of fun. If you love roguelikes, you should at least try this. Forager isn't your classic survival game. It has tons of skill tree elements, tons of like economy elements. I mean, there's just tons to this game, and it's all great. I can tell that the devs have a lot of passion for this game, and it turned out really well. I mean, even just mining the regular elements was awesome, and really fun. Then I discovered I can buy more islands, and so much more. It's awesome. Okay, I didn't even know they were in the process of making a sequel to Slime Rancher, but here we are. I thought it was great that they're making a sequel, and the environments look beautiful, but it kind of felt the same as the first one, except for all of the upgrades you can get on your stuff. I mean, when I looked at that skill tree, there was like way too much that I could do, which is great. Next on our list, we have Origami 2, a game where you play as a ninja and use your tactical abilities such as your Shadow Dash, Shadow Leap, Shadow Vision, lots of shadows, to take down your enemies in decisive battles. In Origami 2, you will also have to utilize stealth mechanics, where you can do tactical takedowns, brutal knockouts, or you can just sneak by peacefully. Time Ding, I hope I said that right, takes your classic Robin Hood tale, but turns it into a video game and makes it epic with like Super Smash Bros. Style fighting. It really felt great. I also found all the characters entertaining. I mean, what's not to love about this game? It has voice acting, the animation is good. I mean, we're just getting to the really good games here, and it only gets better. The Gunk is a game where you play as a character with an amputated arm that was turned into this giant hand grabber thing that can suck up this essence called the Gunk. The Gunk contains like tons of plants and stuff. It's cool. The concept for this game is really cool. There's no but here. The voice acting was great, the visuals were great, and there's a big juicy skill tree to dive into. Shadowrun is a D&D-esque character creation game with turn-based tactics combat and lots of story. I think the story was a bit bland for me, but the gameplay was pretty fun. I also enjoyed creating my character, even if I couldn't really use them that much at the very beginning. The art was pretty stylistic, and in a weird way, kind of reminded me of AI-generated art. Obviously, I don't believe that this art was AI-generated, but still. Wolong Fallen Dynasty had a big, epic story, and some really fun combat. And I haven't even mentioned the visuals yet. They are pretty gorgeous. I mean, look at just this burning down village. They made it look pretty. This game definitely has a lot of gore. It's a bit more adult than a lot of the other games on this list, but the sheer fun I had puts it this high on the list. Chained Echoes honestly just felt amazing to play, from the art style to the gameplay mechanics. Chained Echoes was just straight up fun, and it's one of the games on this list that I can't wait to go back to play after this video. As already stated, it was really fun to play, and the characters were really good, the writing was amazing, it was just really funny too at parts. I would recommend this one, because it has a really solid foundation. ReCore had me fully immersed in the atmosphere of this abandoned desert dystopia. The art in this game is gorgeous, as you can see, and the gameplay mechanics were pretty fun. They weren't anything too special, but I found it nice because I had a robot dog companion, and he's adorable. Speaking of the robot dog companion, he was adorable, and I got really attached to him, and when I did, I mean, the characters are good. That's what I'm trying to say. Merge and Blade took the classic mobile game trope and made it really good. Like, the execution was done so well. I mean, obviously the arts is not its strong suit, but I would argue that this game is kinda good? I don't know, I was not expecting this. One thing I am a bit disappointed about is that you can't merge after a certain level and you have to do unlocks or whatever. Eiyuden Chronicles is what an RPG should be. This game totally immersed me with its characters, world building, beautiful art, and combat. This game has everything an RPG needs. This game is a fully fledged RPG, and I'm here for it. Because if the characters and graphics aren't enough to get you into it, the gameplay is fun. What else can I say? Potioncraft takes such a simple concept and makes it so good with the execution. The art style is great, and I got really attached to it. The potion making is surprisingly fun, while also being simple. I mean, there's even a shopkeeping element that they made fun. Almost as fun as crafting the potions. I don't know how they did it, and I don't know why it's so fun, but I loved this experience. It's a weird hidden gem. Okay, I'll admit, I've played a lot of Slay the Spire, and I'm loving it. Slay the Spire is one of my favorite roguelikes of all time. It's not my favorite roguelike, as you'll see later on this list, but I think Slay the Spire really sets the standard for all upcoming roguelikes, and it's the one I've seen compared to most roguelikes of all shapes and sizes. This is a beautiful game. If you haven't already played it, do so. Destroy All Humans is hilarious and super fun. You get to play as this little alien dude who's just trying to take down humans and the world. It's a pretty simple plot, but they make it so funny and so fun with your galactic space powers. It just becomes a blast. All I wanted to do after playing this game was play more of it, and that's what a good game should do. This game is awesome. Dreamscaper was a very fun roguelike to play. The visuals are super stylistic and pretty, while the gameplay loop stays super fun the whole time. I can tell this game also has a lot of passion because you can get like finger guns as a weapon in this game. How cool is that? The whole game is thematically based in someone's dreams and their kind of anxieties, which I think is cool. Next up, we have one of my personal favorite games on this list, Anvil. Anvil had me excited for every corner I was turning, every chest I was opening, every weapon I was collecting. It was all exciting. Not only that, but the gameplay, enemies, and bosses were simply a thrill to get through. This game is an action roguelike, meaning you're gonna have tons of runs with tons of different upgrades, and Anvil truly nails this subject. The Outer Worlds was so fun and gorgeous, it was hard to get me to put the game down. This game has a D&D-like character creation with unique dialogue options unlocking depending on your stats. Not only that, everything that happened because of the skills I invested into. There are so many different paths to take in this game, and it's exciting. It's awesome. Oh my goodness, I finally get to talk about this game. Hi-Fi Rush was amazing. It was filled with so much passion and charm. I mean, look at the art style. And the gameplay was so fun, the characters were awesome. I can't think of a single thing that I really dislike about this game. I mean, it was just awesome. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Hi-Fi Rush is an action-adventure rhythm game, and it turned out super well. Okay, you've probably already heard of Dead Cells, but here I am to rant about it to you. So, Dead Cells, if you've been living under a rock, is an amazing roguelite that has completely redefined the genre of roguelike. Dead Cells is such an amazing, complete, packaged experience. I can't not recommend it to anyone. I think this game is fantastic. I will say though, it does take a bit of time to get used to, but if you put in the time, it'll be fantastic. Death's Door is such a beautiful game, from the music, to the characters, to the art style, to the combat, all of it is amazing. I've almost played through this entire game, and I have to say, it's amazing. I think you should try it, because it's only $30, and it's really freaking good. But I kind of have to skip over this one a little bit, because in our number 1 spot, we have the one and only best game of all time, and on this list. I say that unapologetically, and if you didn't guess what this was, you probably don't know me. It's Hollow Knight, of course. The entire music from this video has all been Hollow Knight. The lore and story of Hollow Knight is amazing. It's immaculate. The art style is so good. So much of this game is perfect. The gameplay mechanics, the sound effects. What more do you want from me? Oh, what's that? It's $15? I'm surprised more people haven't gotten this game. This game is a masterpiece. It's the best game of all time. No debates there. This game is amazing. This game is perfect. Get it if you haven't already. I feel like the pure grace of this game is going to explode me if I talk any more about. Okay, so that was the video. Thanks for watching. Oh, wait, I have a script for this. Wow, that was a lot of games. And hey, you're still watching. If you've made it this far, I want to say thank you. This video took a lot of effort to make, so if you enjoyed, leave a like down below. These games were really fun to play, and there were a lot of hidden gems and good games in there. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later. That was the worst outro I've ever heard.